Okay. Hi, this is Jim Porter, and this is Eric Kolb. Can tell us a little bit of something about who you are and what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, what we're going to talk about today, I really don't know. Um, I'm Eric Kolb, um, psychologist, theologist, philosopher. Um, Studied a lot, read a lot, written some, and I think we're going to talk about human human nature. What makes humans humans? How they interact with themselves, with each other, and with God, if He's there.
Yeah, thank you. I think that sounds like a good beginning. I have no idea what we're going to say from here. I'm kidding. And after that, I actually asked him a little bit more about himself and where he's living. And that actually took him to a story about how he changed a couple of his political ideas when he moved to Germany.
I'd never met. I had never met a communist
Oh,
uh,
wow.
before. I had just learned that communism bad, capitalism good. Why? Because you're American and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but then I found out. Wait, so you guys don't really have you don't have homelessness? Like, no, everything belongs to everyone. If you see a house that's empty, you move in.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
oh,
Wow.
okay.
What,
And
what
everyone,
countries were they?
what's that?
What countries were they representing?
Um, let's see. There was St. Petersburg, Moscow, uh, I think
That they were.
East Berlin, uh, Dresden, uh,
Wow.
and a guy from China.
Wow.
And we all spoke. I moved in with them later after this. We all lived in a vacay, and we all spoke to everyone in a different language, depending on what languages we were learning.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
I definitely that okay, so yeah, so for me, I think I was raised watching liberal hippie stuff on TV during the 70s, and so I was almost a commie on my own, you know. But I've always had this tangled idea of no. I had a romantic idea of USSR for a while because, you know,
uh-huh.
winds of change. I don't know, but I always thought that they were communist, but a dictatorship, and you don't have to have a dictatorship to be communist. But what was the reality there during the 70s and 80s, as far as you know?
Well, I really don't, because I
Okay.
wasn't here in.
And they didn't talk about that because it was like the
Oh
90s,
yeah, they did. I mean, they
right?
said uh, a couple of them were from the Germans. I mean, from East Germany.
East Germany, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they were not so necessarily happy that it changed.
Oh,
It was rather an inconvenience to. I'm getting out of this country anyway, so I mean, they were leaving.
uh,
Um, but what they resented was that the when the Berlin Wall fell, Americans had took that on like they won the Cold War.
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
And there was
and
the Winds of Change song by that rock group and everything.
yeah,
Scorpion?
the Scorpions. Yeah, I've met.
Scorpions, yeah.
That was even my prom dance, and I did not know that they were a German band until I met them here in Germany.
Seriously, seriously.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
I didn't
cool.
know. I didn't know they were German. Uh,
That is cool.
and because I was a performer here in the U.S. also, and they're from Hanover, and I was one of I started the clown movement, the clown movement in Germany.
What is that?
the people dressing up as clowns and going to the hospitals,
Oh, that's really neat.
the clown doctors. So they have it everywhere, you
Yeah,
know.
we had a guy, I forgot his name here, but he was one of Patch Adams' co-clowns for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was one of those people
Wow,
too.
you did that.
Yeah, and they're from Hanover, and this new children's hospital had a fundraiser, and the Scorpions were there, and I did like a little gig where I would sing a um, ch children's nursery rhyme on a little guitarlele, like a ukulele, but a little bit bigger,
Yeah.
but sing it to the tune of "Rock You Like a Hurricane." You know.
Really?
Yeah, and so I started doing that, and lo and behold, the guy jumps up on stage. I didn't wouldn't have known to look at him, but he did that scream
Yeah.
uh, right like right next to me. I'm like, oh,
Hilarious.
I knew there was like I knew the Scorpions were there, but I didn't even know that they sang that. I didn't make the connection until he jumped up on stage with me
Wow.
and sang that. And
That's
that's when we started talking afterwards, and I said, "Oh, your German's good."
that's awesome.
It's like, "Yes, yours too." I'm like, "Well, I've been here a while." I'm like, "Yeah, I was born here." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Oh, and
That's
your parents were in the military? And he's like, "No." 'Cause it didn't come out right away.
yeah,
This
so
is happened to me not so long ago with Gentleman. Do you know the singer Gentleman?
I
He's
don't
not
think so.
he's not quite as popular. Um, he sings reggae.
Oh, cool. And he's
Yeah,
German?
yeah, I didn't know that.
Reggae's everywhere. That is awesome. I'm gonna put him on my Pandora. Yeah,
Yeah,
gentlemen.
Gentleman. One song that was made the radio was Superior. It's called
Oh, wow.
Superior.
Okay. Then I'll probably
I
recognize
recognize that one. He doesn't sound like I mean, I was surprised to find out he was a white guy.
Oh,
Uh,
really? So he really did
yeah,
I guess he had to.
yeah, and then also German. But Germans are a little bit, a little bit stiff. So
That's what I was, yeah.
that stereotype is pretty true.
Oh, yeah, I think
Especially,
someone, yeah. And they have long compound words, is what I,
yeah, yeah, they like long
which
words.
is cool. Everybody's wanting to speak German now, or at least anybody who wants to have a word for something they don't have a word for. They're
Wow.
importing German words over here, sort of.
Okay.
There was a fad for a while to talk about it online. Like, forgot one of them that was famous.
Okay.
Oh, Schadenfreude. Yeah,
Schadenfreude. Yeah.
everybody, yeah, Schadenfreude.
That is an interesting word that we don't have in the US, and we probably should because uh, the Americans like it so much.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. To be able to, what is it? To feel some good feelings about someone else's misfortune or something like that, or
Yeah, I guess we would call it spitefulness, to be happy about the mishaps of someone we don't like.
yeah, that would make sense. And it's just, well, by the way, I don't know that you know both of our credentials, I know that you got a PhD in psychology, or you got a,
Yeah.
okay. I got a, I got a BA in psychology. I got a PhD in mental health counseling, which is a very specific,
Uh-huh.
type of licensure so you can practice counseling. And the PhD just lets you teach if you want to, or do research if you want to. But
Uh-huh.
it's a master's levels license. So then I'm also a master's of education in uh, mental health counseling. But over here in Florida, they call me an LMHC, a licensed mental health counselor. So
Yeah. Okay.
And so it was interesting that you had mentioned psychology when we were pinging back and forth or whatever.
Right.
And then I saw some of your videos, which were pretty. I skimmed, like I peeped through a
Mm,
couple.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm a psychologist, and I've always been a Christian. And now that I'm in early retirement, one day that's the way, these Christians are, they get a calling and then they start something and we're relentless, we get, we know how to build a wall.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Oh, we, in the Bible, the determinism is, to be, not determinism, but to be determined to get the job done, to see it
Oh,
through.
oh yeah,
know.
determination.
So,
Oh, so you know how to.
uh,
When you say build a
yeah,
wall, you didn't mean a barrier. You meant
no,
construct
no, no. I meant to get the job done.
the job done. Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense. Does make sense.
um, so I started writing my first book. At that time, I didn't know what I was writing about or to who. Um, so I went about it very methodologically. I wrote an essay a week for a year.
Wow.
And at the end of the year, I had, how many essays did I have? 52, right? Yeah, I had 52 essays about different topics. I grouped them they into chapters that fell into sections, and then I put it all together, and I had my book.
Wow. Wow.
One chapter of that book was though on the heart, body, mind, and soul, and I thought, oh, that's not enough for you know one chapter for these four things because there's just so much in there. Then I decided to say, okay, that's going to be the introduction book, because during that process, I came up with the idea that I really wanted to do was to write a book about the heart, body, mind, and soul, because um, that's coming from right after the golden rule: love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus is asked, what are the most important commandments? He said, love your neighbor as yourself, and love the Lord God with all your heart, body, mind, and soul.
Yeah.
So that the human is essentially then made up out of these four components.
Oh, that's where you got the circles, the domains.
Right. Right.
Okay.
And at that time, I really thought it was four circles, but then I realized the soul is not is connected to each of them, or they're all connected to each other, just like the way in the diagram.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I was pulling up on my thing. I don't think I can share it, but you
yeah,
were kind enough to share with me the
yeah, I
book.
have it. Oh, I can't
I'm
pick up my.
almost, I forget. I'm scrolling backwards. I actually skipped ahead to like chapter 8, I think, also.
From
But
which
anyway, wait, no, this book is long. Wait a minute. Let me just.
from which of the books?
The human mind has the diagram in it, I believe,
Oh, right, right, right.
somewhere along the way. There it is.
So
Yeah.
yeah, in the first book, I didn't even have this diagram yet.
Ah. And
Mm.
actually, I probably could share it, but it might be awkward, and I feel
I
funny.
have to know. I know what it looks. We're
You know
talking
what it
about.
looks like, yeah. And then you have also a page later the fact that they can be represented by different size, circles in a way,
Right, right. You can kind of,
like a unique.
yeah, depending on the person. Like my emotional circle is very, very small.
It's weird, and yeah, this is interesting because basically, first, since I'm going to put this on my YouTube, I'm going to tell everybody we basically met through a Facebook page where people debate stuff.
Hmm.
You're the only taker on debating in person. They literally thought that I thought well, actually, they're probably right. I probably do want to build up my channel, of course, but it's different talking to someone face to face.
Yeah.
Some of the most hardcore insulters, I bet you we'd be different face to face, you know?
Oh,
Um,
sure.
you know,
Yeah. I
so
think a lot of those people there, they just post on both sides. They just want to get a ruffle feathers and you know
yeah.
see how aggravated they can make people.
I tried to make a rule for myself that I would never do any snark. Um, and then there was just this one guy that I don't know if he knew my buttons, but he was really going after me instead of my ideas. Except for sometimes he was going after my ideas, and unfortunately, in ways that I thought were, I'm not sure I thought they were good arguments, but they were definitely uh, a challenge to respond. And there was also some, I'm not sure what's the other word for snark. Anyway, there was plenty of snark between me and him. So
Yeah,
at some point, I was like, I'm gonna send some dumb, snarky, stingy thing too. So every once in a while I do that for sure.
yeah.
I just don't think that should be the. It'd be better if it'd be better if it was better on those sites.
Did you see the last thing I posted?
I don't know. Was it your own post or a response to something?
My own post.
Oh,
I said a poll. I did one of these poll question
oh
things.
yeah, yeah. Was it 3 levels on the poll, or
it,
was it a
it
single question?
started with two, and people just kept adding and adding. This is the question.
Oh, all
This is the question I posed.
right.
It is you've probably heard questions like this before, but I make another stipulation. Okay. Now, I pose the question very concise because people have this much reading. If you write this much, they will read this much and comment that much.
That is
So I keep it very, very short and remind myself who I'm talking to whenever I respond to something, which is why I don't respond very often because you can't. Someone's pointing to a duck and calling it a chicken. There's
right.
no big conversation, you know. I can just give them my card and tell them when my office hours are. You know, there's nothing else I can do. But this was the question. Imagine in front of you is a box, and in this box is the absolute knowledge, proof, and anything you would ever need to believe in God. Okay, so that's where such box doesn't exist. That's a part of the question. Assuming there's a box. If you open this box, you're going to become a follower and a Jesus freak, and want to tell all your friends and want to serve him and want to stop sinning and completely change your life and
Oh,
become a
I
yeah.
remember. I remember that post. Yeah. It wasn't
So
a survey, was it? It wasn't click here, was it? It was
yeah,
just
yeah.
normal answer. It was. It
No,
had.
it was, and I had said so that was the question, and so the options were: do you open the box and become a follower of Jesus, or do you walk away?
Oh,
And what I wanted to do is see how many people there are worth talking to. Okay. Because anyone who says, well, the box doesn't exist, or I order pizza, or they added different options. I look in the box and decide then if the evidence is convincing. I'm like, okay, you didn't read the question. You know, you
Oh,
didn't.
oh yeah. Like the idea is to assume that it's got it in there.
Right, right. And very few people said they would then open the box because they want to know the truth. And if that's the truth, then they'll follow that. But surprisingly, few people just left it at that. Everyone wanted to make their own little, uh, create another. I don't know how many options were then created, but they wanted to create their own option and follow that.
Oh,
And that's essentially not doing option A. You
I like
know,
the question. I'll tell you because like, and I think this might have been what I typed. I might have typed my own thing, but I'm not sure if I responded or not. I like the question because if it's guaranteed, I would assume that everybody would open it because you want to know the truth. Even I think, but so I think what I wrote was the same thing, but the opposite. I might have responded with that, and I may have pushed a button too. I'm not sure. I can't know how to quickly navigate to it. I was trying to do that just now. Um, so what happened? You got did okay. So people did their own additional buttons, basically.
yeah, they said I'd uh, open the box and then judge for myself, or not open the box,
Oh,
or open the box and not care because I'm not serving a um, warlord. And what did Richard Dawkins in one book, I quoted it in my book as well, um, that the God of the Old Testament is the most despicable, ruthless, uh, genocidal, blah, blah. Went on and on and on, speaking of the God of the Old Testament as not a nice person.
I've seen, yeah, I've seen him say that in a debate with, I can't remember his name, and the guy called him anti-Semitic. Uh,
Yeah, he's been in a bunch of debates.
anyway,
I've learned a lot from. I've read all of Dawkins' books. I've read all of Christopher Hitchens' books and Lawrence Krauss's books and others. That's why I'm in the group not really to convert people. I'm not quite as compassionate. Like, oh, people are so focused on heaven and hell kind of things. They don't, they think that God needs them to fulfill the to get the word out. The Great Commission is what we call it. That everyone hears the gospel. God doesn't need us to do that. I mean, if he wanted to do that, he could do that. He could just come back and it would be all over. But we don't have to. He doesn't need me to convince you. I can't convince you anyway. You know, what I've been posting a lot recently is belief is a choice. Everyone chooses what they want to believe, and then um, rationalizes and finds evidence support that belief. And that's just the way we were created as humans. First, we develop a intuitive mode of thinking. When babies are born and children, that's why they believe. You tell a child anything, they're going to believe you. You know,
oh, you
uh,
tell a child, yeah, yeah,
yeah, they just intuitively want to piece things together.
yeah,
Rational mode of thinking does not come about until much later.
right,
Um,
right.
you
You've
start
still got that
questioning,
bedrock of belief when you're young,
right?
disbelief or whatever. But you
And
got
that's
that bedrock of what you had when you were young.
very, very important that we have this intuitive form at first, because that's what builds our core beliefs, core beliefs are everything we think of, all of our truths, even if they're not true. You know, no pain, no gain. I believe that.
Yeah.
Jesus
Oh yeah,
Christ, I believe that. Peanut butter is good.
yeah.
I
I believe that. Yeah.
Cleveland Browns suck. I haven't I haven't seen them play in years. I don't know. But still, Cleveland Browns still suck, and Pittsburgh Steelers are the greatest.
I feel so bad because one of my core beliefs is I don't understand why anybody would even bother watching professional sports. I'm really one of
Yeah,
those. But anyway,
yeah.
but
And when our core beliefs start, because I'm actually now, I think sports have got a way too high importance in our lives, especially in the United States. And in my life, it was, for instance, you may know my father. Oh, you're going to post this. If I say this, everyone will know. My father's famous in the United States.
oh no, I didn't.
He played football for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, okay. So you may have a bias.
For the 70s team, yeah. For the 70s team when they won the 4 Super Bowls. He was on that team.
Wow.
Uh, part of the Steel Curtain.
Wait, what year?
I guess they won from 73 to,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was born in 71, so I grew up as a child of a
The Steelers
Pittsburgh.
were everywhere. It was like the Cowboys or the Steelers for a while, but the Steelers were
Yeah,
just, yeah.
yeah. And can you imagine what my Monday was like at school if the
Well,
Steelers lost?
that's weird to think about.
You and I was in sports, so wrestling was my sport. So everyone was out for me, because a victory over me was a victory over the great John Kolb, you
Oh,
know, the strongest man in the NFL.
whoa.
My father's the strongest man in the NFL. I have to be, you know,
Yeah,
I have
that's
to I have to match that. I even tried. I played football one season, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I have to get my own way.
yeah.
I like football. I was actually pretty good at it, but I didn't. I couldn't. The pressure was just too much um, in football,
Oh yeah.
and I was better at wrestling. But I ended up having to. I won states my freshman year in high school, and then I just kept getting injury after injury, and all my muscles were aching, and no pain, no gain. My father, the NFL football
Oh yeah.
player, so
Oh yeah. Oh
I had to
yeah.
bite the teeth and go. And I didn't realize, and no one thought that, oh, maybe Eric has muscular dystrophy.
Were the signs there now that you look back?
Yeah, I mean, I felt the pain,
Oh
but
man.
no one believed me, you know? Uh,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
how could,
Oh
how could
no.
I have that?
It's what was it? Walk it off. Back in those days, no pain,
Right.
no gain. Walk it off. I can't think of some of the other expressions.
Yeah, yeah, I got all that.
In the
I ended
Marines,
up,
they said pain is weakness leaving the body, and then
okay,
they get more injuries even during peacetime than
right, training.
yeah.
Yeah. And so I ended up having I changed schools because I decided to stop sports. Just realized it's not for me. I've enough, achieved a lot, and I want to move on. And my father told me, well, if you don't do sports, you'll be worthless. That's just the mentality that we had in the family and in in the school area. I didn't often I wouldn't do my homework, and the teacher would choose someone else out, and I'm like, teacher, I didn't do it either. It's like, yeah, If I bombed a test, I got another, the teacher called me aside and he had said, take this home and redo it. Why do I get to do this? Because I had to be on the wrestling team.
It's funny because at the same time, you sound like somebody who never moved away to Europe because you've lived here, but
Yeah.
also you have a slightly different lens because my buddy understands that I only watch football games when he takes me or when it's some big game, OSU versus Florida, and my wife's dad's team is OSU, and
Oklahoma State or
and I live in Gainesville, so it's UF. What's that?
Oklahoma State or Ohio
Oh,
State?
I'm sorry, Ohio State. Yeah, right. Well, see, that shows you how
Yeah.
I never think of Oklahoma State.
Right.
But 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 definitely it's assumed that everybody's going to be watching the game. It's
Right. Yeah. I mean, football is, there's such an emphasis on it, but the skills you learn from it don't take off in life, are not applicable in life later. If you're a lineman, okay, you maybe learn to work hard, no pain, no gain, run the full mile, and slam people. But the skills you've learned through that activity, where do they apply in your adult life? Take
yeah.
though someone who was in school plays, who sang, who did arts, you know, theaters and arts and music. You know, you still have that today. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you can still pick up a tuba if you wanted to and play it, or hear a melody and recognize
Oh yeah.
the math behind it and the music behind it. Those have carrying traits into your adult life that are useful.
Hmm. Yeah. And with and many of those can be ensembles like acting and singing and dancing and playing
Right,
instruments. And so that's got that social quality.
right, right. Um, and yeah, that's why I'm not such no longer such a great fan of sports for, for many reasons, uh, but mostly because Mondays after one time the Steelers lost on a penalty that my father did, so a touchdown got called back. Holding number 55, John Kolb, no touchdown. I thought, oh my God, school's going to be a nightmare tomorrow. I told the parents, hey, can't go to school tomorrow. You can't, it's going to be a disaster. I got in 3 fights the next day.
Wow.
After that, your
Wow.
father lost the game.
Uh, everybody's talking about right and left being like brainwashed or their own religion, but maybe football is America's
Yeah,
religion.
football is a religion too.
Oh man.
That's
Well,
another question that comes up in um, the the group there. Atheism is not a religion, and atheists have no beliefs. Um, I kind of side with Bob Dylan, who sang the song "You Got to Serve Somebody." Now,
oh,
so I define God as that which is your purpose in life.
ah, ah,
Okay. What do you get up in the morning for? What is it that you want out of life? That is your God. What is your reason for living?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if someone says, yeah, to prosper, then prosperity is your God. If your
Hmm.
reason
Hmm.
for living is the family, then that is your God. Everyone has
That makes sense.
a God, okay?
Yeah.
In that, when you define it that way, as something for which they live, what their heart's desire is, the
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
continuing on. Because life is painful.
Yeah.
Life is deadly. It'll kill you. It'll kill each.
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately. Right.
It's going to kill each of us.
Yeah.
It
I know.
takes it takes a certain amount of strength just to remain alive. You just can't
Yeah.
live. I
Yeah.
mean, you have to eat and cook. I mean, you don't realize this until you're old, but sometimes, my muscles are hurting so bad. It's like, do I want to eat or do I want to remain still and not put any weight on my
Right.
leg?
Right. And I don't even have a predetermining like diagnosis like that. I just have age now, and I'm only 54. I'm only 50. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm aching and creaking and needing to try to keep my muscle tone up. You know,
Right.
yeah, life.
You started to notice maybe this isn't happen yet, but I'll let you eventually your blick will start sinking as you're walking. You're no longer looking around while you're walking, but you're looking for dangers of
Oh, things.
and places to fall, good places to fall,
See,
or where not to fall. Where can I land? Every time I'm up on my feet, I'm coming in for a crash landing because I got about 2 minutes and I'm going down.
yeah.
So I have to get to where I'm going.
Yeah, I got a knee injury a while back, and it comes to me in phases.
Right.
Uh, but I took a spill because I had mopped the floor and left a part of it too wet, like a puddle. And I already had the knee injury, and I'm always guarding about that, always.
Yeah.
And I come out, I step on the tile, I slip. That knee does its job. Like it's basically got a replacement tendon in there, a ligament in there, ACL.
Mhm.
And for the next several days, I called the physical therapist. I wanted an appointment as fast as possible. I wanted X-rays. And I had decided for about a week or two that I was 97 years old, and
Yeah.
and that I could not risk the slightest stone underneath my foot. Yeah.
Yeah, man. How much did it all set you back?
The money is that, or oh, you mean in like physical?
Now, in money for the X-rays and everything.
Well, what's crazy is I got out on an ACL reconstruction injury from the VA. I mean, from the Marines. So I am one of the few people that gets pretty good health care for pretty low cost.
Okay, how much?
How much do like? Oh,
Oh,
let's see.
because okay,
Yeah.
I was kind of setting up for a comparison. I mean,
Okay.
you
To
have good
Germany.
health. Yeah, you have good health care.
Yeah.
That probably one of the best should be. Um,
And
Here,
whether.
when we go to the hospital, okay, and it doesn't matter if you're getting a wart removed or you're getting triple bypass surgery. Um, they wheel you in. They're going to do what needs to be done, and it costs $10 a day.
Yeah, people over here, I mean, I can think of two families I have, and they don't go to the doctor. If they go to the doctor, I'm trying to think of the kind of no, they avoid the doctor.
Yeah,
They try to get Medicaid, Medicare. It's a huge hassle. It's like they spend more time and money on phone calls and gasoline to try to get any kind of potential benefits that might help pay for their medical care than
right. Yeah, here it's that's for a hospital visit. To go to the doctors, that I don't put anything down for that.
oh wow, that
So we don't go to the doctors when we're sick. We go to the doctors so that we don't get sick.
right, right, right. That
I,
saves
I,
it.
If I feel a little bit of an infection coming on here, the glands are swelling,
Yeah.
I just go to the doctors. I can call ahead and say, gland swelling again. Can I have the same medicine as last time? And they'll be like, yeah, okay, stop by. Then I go there. I just pick up. My doctor knows I have these infections. The prescriptions there. I pick it up. I go not any medicine. There's two categories. I didn't even know this before. Some of the medicines I take are more expensive and they cost 10 euros to get a subscription filled. You know, I get them, and this box is 100 pack.
Wow.
You know?
Well, that
So
makes me want to cry.
yeah,
Um,
normally it's 5.
wow. I have clients. Well, no, I mean, how do I say this? Yeah, I have a few clients that I've kept on, and they don't pay. They pay a fraction of what all my other clients pay, and regardless, I don't know. This is a thing I'm very passionate about. The concept that if you have the government start to pay for some bare necessities like for example, okay, what do you think about this? I think it's cheaper to do medicine that way, where they're preventing bigger problems first by letting you visit your primary.
I think so too. Our taxes are higher.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I would
You
imagine.
know, half a paycheck, half. If you're
Wow,
younger, more than half
wow.
is gone.
No, that's
Okay.
honest.
When I first came to Germany and got a contract for X amount, and then what came on my bank account was only less than half. There was a mistake. You only sent me half the money, and they said, no, this is taxes. I'm like, oh my gosh. But when you want to drive as fast as the car will take you, you need very, very good roads or
Yeah,
people die.
yeah,
Those roads are paid for.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You also want to know that all the other cars on the road are inspected and safe.
Right.
So you have to pay a lot of tax for the vehicles.
Pays for the inspections, etc.
So,
Yeah,
the basics of life here in Germany are really cheap. The luxuries of life are expensive. The difference is what we hold as basic and what we hold as luxury differs so greatly from the United States. You know,
yeah.
uh,
We know we have a lot more elders now than we used to because of the boomers. I don't know what. Oh no, we're around. We might be around the same age. I'm 54.
yeah, we're the same age.
Oh yeah. Um, but I don't see that every person aging is going to necessarily have the basics. Even what we consider basic, I don't think that in America, in the United States, that all the people who are aging and are going to need a lot of things are going to get any of it or get enough of it here.
Oh, I don't think so either. That's what I was saying. Um, you can get cars for cheap. There's no the gas is relatively cheap. You don't think so, but compared
Oh,
to
oh yeah. I've been told by people from other countries. Yeah,
um, and some of these things are um, cheap and accessible, um, but others are not. And you know, here in Germany, the basic things that people need in life are supplied, and then other things are a lot more expensive and a lot more expensive.
yeah. Here,
Like
there. Yeah.
education, they hold as a a basic need of life. So I have three daughters, and I'm not worried at all how I'm going to send them to college.
Wow.
If I was living in the United States, that would be my such a concern every day. How am I going to get my children to college? How am I going to? Oh my gosh, you know what I invested here between my ears, easily $500,000 with bachelor's, master's, PhD. That adds up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. And again, I got lucky because my anterior cruciate ligament popped. And what that meant was I think I was going to get the GI Bill anyway. But I got 10% disability, which is enough to get you so many discounts. Every surgery's been free. Ridiculous. 5-hour surgeries to dig polyps out of my
Mhm.
skull, so that I could think and breathe, you know, and I got them for free, you know. And I know that I put my life on the line, but A, sure, but B, it's I just think there'd probably be less pissed off people in this country if we had some of these things considered basics.
Yeah,
So you know,
yeah,
we got a lot of angry people in the United States. You may not know that. You may not be aware of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You may not have heard.
I've heard. Well, there's a lot of angry people here too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was what kind of what my last book was about. For one of the topics, I just finished the Human Heart. Went online on Thursday.
Wow.
Published it. The emotional, each of the basic emotions uh, have a purpose. Anger, even sadness, um, and joy, and all the emotions have a distinct purpose. They jolt our behavior in a specific direction when we perceive specific stimuli. For anger is what tells us what's important to us.
Yeah.
Anger comes up,
Yeah.
and someone said or did something that goes against my core beliefs. You know, some and I and that's why I want to do something about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if someone gets angry about something, it's telling them that something about that is important to them. But if they get angry all the time, then maybe too many things are important to you. And if too many things are important to you, what is important? Where's your um, hierarchy, priority list, and what
All right.
should
Right.
be?
Yeah, there's tolerables, there are intolerables, and there's a lot in between. And then there's desired, the category of things that are desired, you know, you know, maybe very desired, maybe kinda desired. Yeah, anger, I honor it because for me, if I allow that sensation of anger to go through me, eventually it sort of does what a storm does. It causes a lot of this and that, and then it kind of fades away, all that. But
Yeah,
meanwhile, like you said, meanwhile, I know something was important to me.
yeah. And that's the key thing. It's important that we react to our anger, but not in our anger.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Difference is when something happens that angers me and I'm reacting right away, I'm going on instinctual animalistic impulses. That's really the difference between humans and all other creations. Um, a if you walk up to a gorilla, if an old lady walks up to a gorilla and smacks him with a handbag, the gorilla is going to tear her apart. He's going to
Yeah.
get angry. and kill the stupid woman.
Oh,
If she does that to a human, even a mean one, even in a bad area, you know, they may not kill her. They may say, "What's wrong with you, Grandma?"
yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah, right, exactly.
they're not going. They may get angry, but they're not going. They may not um, act on that anger.
Mm,
Uh, a
hmm.
dog, if a dog is growling at you, he's angry at you.
Yeah,
Okay, he's not gonna. He doesn't want to play catch. We know that right away.
yeah,
When we judge that on a dog's behavior when there's not even the same speech. We recognize anger, and we know a dog he may settle down, but while he's growling, he is not settled down. Don't reach out and pet him; you'll get bit.
yeah.
You know,
We have this. I'm
humans
sorry.
have humans have are different than all other uh, organisms in that they can react to the emotion and not only in the we mostly we react in the emotion, but we can also react to the emotion. Think about
Yeah,
what about that has made me angry. Should it make me angry? Yes, it should. Okay, then what is the best course of action
right.
to protect whatever it is that's important to me? Do I need to punch someone in the face right now? Or do I need to leave this scene, go home, and write
Right,
a
right.
letter? Or where how do I make the biggest impact
Hmm,
to
hmm. Yeah. And if
set?
you, if, well, and I think people do, I think I have trained myself more and more to, because you have to do that first part. And in order to do that first part, you have to have some way to remember to do the part where you say, wait, you know.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
there, yeah,
But that's what that was not certainly due to some point, but that's what I was getting at with the analogy with the old woman. Even uh,
oh,
gang,
yeah,
even a gang member um, selling drugs, human trafficking, all the horrible things that he may do, still has a sense of right and wrong,
mm,
where he's not going to maybe back talk his grandma.
oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
So respect, if he gets angry at his grandma, he's not going to pull out his gun and kill her. But two
yeah.
minutes later, some little nobody in the streets looks at them the wrong way.
Yeah,
He,
yeah.
you know,
In a way, I think gorillas have a version of that too, with the hierarchy and the respected, razorback, not razorback, grayback, I don't know, silverback or whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I've heard that they have sort of even.
yeah,
It was, I guess there's, okay, so I guess let's say this guy's been in charge forever, but he's getting old and he's getting replaced. They might have a tussle, and the old one will remove himself. But what I was hearing recently, like I think I was listening to NPR, and they were saying that the clout of the now deposed silverback is still supporting this new, uh, you know, I don't know what they call their groups, pod leaders. I don't know. So they have this social structure where they're
yeah.
not they're going to still respect grandma or grandpa, or some.
Right. Right. They have the instinctual hierarchy.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, in that sense, they do have a sense of right or wrong, um, but it's instinctual, not contemplated. For us, we don't only have a respect for our grandmother, but we also have respect for older people,
Hmm, hmm.
some people do, some people don't. The point is, we all, I mean, even take a horrible person, they have, they still have an opinion of what is right and wrong. It may be different than mine is to yours. I can imagine um, the Nazis told jokes also. We just wouldn't think they're funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But they still laughed about them. They still had humor. They still had love for their comrades. They still had loyalty. They had all the things that another military would idolize, but
Hmm.
they're the bad people and we're the good people because their version of right and wrong differs from ours. What I'm saying is the very fact that we have that humans can talk about that, and that it's not just at the instinct level to force to foster the growth of the tribe or the family or the group of the species. You know, we see that in all kinds of animals, even invertebrates.
Mm. Oh yeah, yeah. One thing I think we have that is we have language probably beyond any other
Oh yeah,
species. Yeah. And then we have the ability to record a language even through just writing. And
right.
I think because they've got, they teach gorillas sign language and stuff like that, but we go as far as
Mhm.
expanding our memory through writing and all this other stuff. And I think,
There you have to differentiate between language and communication. Birds can communicate with each other. Um, they have different signals, they have different meanings. So when an eagle is flying around, they make a certain sound. When this or that, they make different, for mating calls, they have different sounds. They can communicate, but it's not symbolic. They can't create symbols, and that's what language is, and only humans can do that. You can teach animals sign language, say that um, this means thank you or please. I think it means please. I'm not sure. And
oh yeah,
just
thank
like,
you. Yeah.
yeah, just like you teach a dog to shake hands. Um, that's not when a dog when you go up to a dog and he sits down in front of you, shake and hold your hand, he's going to instinctively raise his hand because of mirror neurons. We imitate what other people and species do. So he brings out his hand. What happens then? He gets a good boy and gets his ears rubbed. He knows, oh, I did something good there. The next,
I need something that's going to make me feel good, I think is kind of
yeah,
funny.
I'm getting something from this guy. Whenever
Yeah.
he says shake, I raise my hand. I'm going, then I'm a good boy. I'm going to get the good boy ears. So he learns to respond in that way. Um, but he's not really communicating. He's not saying, the dog's not saying, hello, how are you today? Tell me what's going on in your life. He doesn't have language. He just has this one sign and responding to that way. Um,
Yeah, he mimics something, and to us, it looks like what we mean when we do it, like the
like
chimpanzees
like
that they
like
see.
like this over here, up there,
Hmm.
behind you. Oh,
Oh, oh,
see, you turned your
this? Oh,
you
wait, I
turned
don't
your
know which way. Are you not talking about this?
no, that was just an example.
Okay.
I'm pointing my finger at you,
Hmm.
okay, in such a way that you weren't looking at my finger, and I got you to look where
Yeah,
my
yeah.
finger was pointed.
And if you pointed, yeah,
Even a gorilla with lots and lots of messages, you can't point to
he's gonna
uh,
look at your hand. Yeah, your finger.
behind. Go, go there unless it's a sign, bad boy, like this sign or something like that. They're going to look at your finger and not what it's representing in
Yeah, at
that moment.
some point we developed the ability to have signs mean something else and to actually put an image in your brain,
Right,
which
right.
is fascinating.
Incidentally, also a topic of my last book on uh, the Wilhelmina Bucci's multiple code theory. We have speech is verbal and symbolic. When we put these sounds together, these sounds are symbolic for different things. If I say tree, there's no tree present, but the sound tr followed by e is this plant that we all know with branches and leaves and all these other words have meanings, and they're not representative of uh, that thing. That's language. But if I do this, you know,
I don't look up.
that one,
I think,
this
I
one,
think
these are nonverbal gestures that have symbolic meaning.
yeah, that one
Okay,
means cool.
right. There's also nonverbal gestures that don't have um, symbolic meaning. You know, if I'm sitting here like this, maybe I'm angry, maybe I'm cold, maybe I'm hungry, maybe nothing. Maybe I'm just talking about body posture.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do things uh, in our body language, which is a bad term because it's not language, it's not symbolic. It doesn't mean one thing. It can mean many things or it can mean nothing. And then, so that's the second level. And the third level is emotional communication. We have no aware. You know, when I'm talking, I'm moving, you're moving, you're rocking back and forth. Maybe you have to go pee. You have to go pee.
Not at this time.
You look a little. You have to go pee.
Oh, I'm sitting on a wooden bench.
But that's what I mean. So whenever we're talking with each other, we pick up signals that don't really have meaning, and
Yeah.
we put meaning to it and think, oh, am I talking too long? Or is this or this and this is all this is going on at the same time. And this is the emotional communication level. It happens very quickly,
Yeah.
can't carry much information with it, but it's very fast, almost instantaneous. The ideas go back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah. Did you read well there are probably other people who formulated it this way, but Lisa Feldman Barrett, How Emotions Are Made. It's her popular consumption book about the construction of emotions. Um,
No,
basically, um, well, actually, she doesn't talk about the rapid fire. Polyvagal theory talks about the rapid fire communication, where we're at this first branch off of the vagus nerve, and that is the place where we're communicating, where we're actually feeling without even knowing. We're sensing what people are doing. It's coming past our consciousness, and it's registering, and it's giving us subtle impressions, and then we respond almost automatically, and that's when everything's working really great and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah, emotions are a wild thing.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting also. Um, also a significant proof of God because the way the human brain is so amazing that should evolve the way it did. We have our brain stem that is responsible for our automatic responses, heart rate, reflexes, breathing, temperature, digestion, those kind of things, the things we don't have to think about. The things we have to think about are up here in our front brain and all around. In between, we have the limbic system that sits right in between there, connected into both, because it's a dual system. We think about what we're doing, but as soon as the brain sees something emotionally provocative,
Yeah.
cognition turns off,
Yeah.
emotion turns on, and our first behaviors are not according to our
Yeah.
free will. We become essentially animals.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
we are animals, I think.
We are animals, but we
We become, yeah.
we
We're not really using
not
this.
aware of what we're doing, which is why our laws indicate that if someone a violent crime of rage, a crime of passion is judged less harshly than premeditative
Yeah.
violence.
Yeah. Yeah. If yeah, I mean, and that's like they they go through all the phone records and everything they can do to find out if this person planned it or did he speak of this with other. Yeah. And otherwise, it could be understood if somebody ran over your foot with a car, if you just freaking threw a pipe, that was in your hand, at the car or something like that. Not a
Right.
great idea, but
Well,
um, what was I going to say about the brain stuff? Oh yeah, but it's got tremendous survival value. I think overall, statistically, if you fly off the handle sometimes, if you're and one of the examples is if back in the days when we were developing in the African savannas and you heard a rustling in the bush and you said,
yeah,
oh, that's just the wind, you'd probably be safe a million times out of a million and one. But on that a million and first time when it's a tiger, you're
right.
not going to live and you're not going to breed, some offspring. So
Yeah,
it's,
that definitely. We are programmed to avoid false negatives.
yeah, yes,
We're
yes.
we're 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 much rather safe than sorry.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
a little bit on the timid side. We're faster. We see anger and fear faster than joyful sadness and the other emotions. Anger and fear are the fastest. I talk about this in my book. Lots of experiments are like this. They'll show someone a matrix of 9 faces, one, two, like a tic-tac-toe grid,
uh,
flash up on the screen and disappear. Okay, so not enough time to really see the faces. And then instinctively, you're supposed to point to the angry face. When it's the angry face, we can be correct with a very, very short exposure, like partial seconds. We can see angry and fear in people's faces immediately.
yeah.
The other emotions, not so quickly. Sadness, one of the slowest,
Mhm.
which makes also sense because if sadness kicked in all the time, like fear did, sadness is all the other emotions prompt a behavior, a physical behavior. Sadness prompts a cognitive behavior. Think about, understand what was there is no longer there. Time to read with a new setting. We sit down. When my cat doesn't come home, I don't fall in my chair and start crying. I go out and I look for it. I do something about it first. Then after a day or two, sadness may kick in.
Yeah.
Um, and it's important in a way. I mean, imagine if I lost my keys and the same, and I got sad immediately. Oh, my keys are gone. Oh no.
Yeah.
Uh, I won't ever be able to drive again. The car, get up and look for, you when I get angry, I can't find my keys, and that makes me look for them or whatever, and gives me the energy to walk around the house. Um, but when we
That's
get sad about it, then we stop looking.
yeah, that's the word energy, I think is a big one for me there because I'm thinking about during a famine, um, does depression set in, and does that help preserve calories, and that sort of thing, way back when we were evolving. Um, what is what
Yeah.
is why does it exist? Is it an accident, or did it have efficacy under some circumstances?
Well, that's what's I'm saying. All the emotions have a specific purpose. Um, I go through each of these. Anger is what tells us what is important. Um, Sadness tells us what is gone. Uh, we've lost something. It's about lost, and whatever it is, we have to reset the world without this element in it anymore,
Hmm.
knowing it's gone. Otherwise, we'll keep looking for it.
Yeah, with like a
And
death or something, or just a loss of something.
yeah, a relationship can also be figuratively or physically. You
Yeah,
know,
it can be a
someone
yo-yo. It could be it could be your favorite picture of your favorite grandparent.
whatever. When it's gone, we have to. Um, Through sadness is the feeling of rebooting, coming to grips with.
Yeah.
Once we're pretty much okay again. The thing is still gone. The difference is now we understand it is gone.
I talk to my clients when they come to me, and sometimes we've been talking about this other problem, and suddenly they come in and say, my somebody died. And I sort of frame it similarly, that the world in a way changes when a person is no longer in it, you know,
Yeah, definitely.
profound change.
Yeah. It just occurred to me that we haven't. What you said you wanted to talk about was
I know.
uh, illusion versus.
Right. And so
What?
somewhere midway through, I figured I can't just change the topic. Um, how about when we're done, I'll ask Eric, what should we title this video?
Oh, well, I figured you're going to you have
Eventually I was going to segue, but then I think what happened was that, first of all, we talked about how different it is in Germany.
yeah.
And I thought, hey, we're talking about something that's political but also very personal. And then to me, it all blends in together: politics,
Yeah,
religion.
it definitely does. It's all part of it.
But
Uh,
if you're willing to do another one, now that we've met each other,
yeah,
we could
absolutely.
make it about that specific topic, because I think it's a fascinating.
Well, what I was going to say, we've actually been talking about that the whole time
Now,
because
good.
um, each of us live in our own reality. Anything that's in my mind has gone through my perception. There's no other way to get there other than through my perception. And because
Oh, yeah.
I'm the only one who can see it, it is absolutely subjective only to me. And what my mind builds of that is my reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
differs differently from yours. Now we have some connections because we're born both raised at the same time in the same states and went through the same school system. So our reality of sports is similar. Our reality of psychology is similar and this and that. Um, but
I should tell the audience, if I ever have one, what we were going to talk about: the difference between what people call faith and what people call delusion, right?
right,
Yeah.
right,
And I think I agree with you that I would, for me, I would say humility is the key, and skepticism can be a form of humility sometimes. Um, Like I don't happen to believe in what I think of as supernatural, you know? Um, but when you drill down further and further on either side, um, I just think I always find some gap or uncertainty. Like when I was a believer, I was raised Catholic, um, and I went to Catholic schools and all that kind of stuff. Um, and I'm not sure this is true, but what happened? I mean, what I'm about to tell you is true, but my conclusion, I don't know if it's true. And that was that I had gone through other kinds of spirituality, and my basic assumption was the brain couldn't be intelligent unless something intelligent made it. And I was talking to my friend about that, and he said, not necessarily. And I said, well, here's the thing that I'm sticking on. This is why I still believe there has to be something non corporeal, non necessarily testable by what physicists like to test things with, with mathematics and with, and the particles and, going deeper, whatever. I said, there has to be something that my senses are presenting to. So there's a me inside of me. I no longer believe in the soul, but I did, um, or the spirit or whatever. Um, maybe I will again one day. But what he said was, well, maybe one part of your brain is present. Okay, so what I was trying to say, there has to be a movie screen on which my senses are portraying these things, and therefore I'm this movie screen called the soul or the spirit. And he said, well, maybe one part of your brain is presenting it to another part of your brain. And so what happened to me there is it gave me a plausible concept for not needing a non-natural explanation for consciousness. I'm not sure if it's true, but then again, when I was a deep believer in God, there was still lots of uncertainty, and it was a kind of a different kind. It was, I hear a lot of people talking about God, but they're definitely not talking about the kind of God I'm thinking about, you know. And what it can do and what it's made of and does it have a beard and all that stuff, which is kind of shallow, but still it was crucial for me to try to understand. I guess I just thought a God had to be all covering, all loving, and that was the only thing that mattered. And so I wound up bouncing around from denomination to denomination a little bit, for a while. Do you have a particular worship tradition or anything like that?
Oh, um, I guess you could call me a Baptist Calvinist uh,
You're
from
probably good.
theology. Um, I've read the Bible. I don't have a degree in theology. I just learned and studied, gone to church. I've had good mentors,
Mm.
um, and good teachers throughout. I spent a lot of time with that. But back to your question. Let me see if I can prove to you that there is a soul. If you have a picture of yourself, you're looking at a picture of you at your birth in your mom's hand. You recognize your mom. You see that baby there is you. And then another picture of you when you're 5. You can see that. And you look at that and you think, this was me when I was 5. I remember that day. We were going to school and this and that. Same thing at 10 and all these, you have in a photo album, you would have all these pictures. And each time you look at this picture, you would say, oh, this is me. if you were showing me the picture, you say, "This is me here, and this is me here, and here when and with whom, and then here's us at the prom or whatever." What is it about all these people in the pictures that are all you? What about that person makes them you?
Well, that's where I also I lost the ability to believe that that was me. I think I'm not that person anymore. That I may have recordings of, that time, but that could be transferred from slowly from my brain then to my brain now. And so I don't
Right,
think of myself. I mean, I'm definitely not materially the same thing. So I just think it's similar to a recording in my head.
right.
Um, that is probably a flawed recording, also. How memory.
Okay, all right, I understand what you mean there. But the atom, it can't be anything physical because the the atoms that made up the 5-year-old you, they're no longer with you. You have completely new. I think we replace our atoms like every 10 years.
Yeah, I think we replace our cells every certain number of years, and all the atoms would be, making them.
Yeah, not only the cells. I'm talking about at an atomic level. A cell still has many molecules. A cell is huge compared to the building blocks, but the material is no longer the
Right,
same.
right, right,
Your mind is no longer the same because there's more to
right,
it.
right. I believe it has the recordings, and that's why they're flawed. Because as you're aging or as you're developing, your brain is developing, and it's losing cells, and it's losing atoms, and it's replacing them. And there are copies made of older ones, and so there's what I think is my memories, but they're really copies of copies of copies, and maybe not very good copies. And
Uh-huh.
so, I can recognize back in the day, though, like before, um, I think before uh, that moment that my friend mentioned that idea of the other thing, did I come up with this? And that is, yeah, I can think that that's me, but that doesn't mean it was me. Um,
Well, yeah. Well, what part about it was you? I mean, you can't. I mean, you can't imagine. I don't imagine you're going to say, "No, that's not me anymore." You see, like I like the line out of um, oh gosh, Woody Harrelson in the movie where he kills everyone.
I know uh, Natural Born Killers.
Born Killers. Yeah, it's one point that I'm not the man I used to be.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah, that's a common expression.
I'm not the man I used to be. That speaks of our identity. Okay. Our identity develops over time. None of us are the people we used to be from the moment we've said that sentence because things have changed.
Mhm. But I really do believe that what's going on is it's like my okay, let's say my brain is like a hard drive, that it's gushy and mushy and stuff like that. And so what happens with cell reproduction is uh your your brain is constantly losing material and gaining material, but there are copies. And so I actually believe that these memories are just copies of someone who used to exist, and not very good ones. And so that I am, in fact, I'm not even sure that I exist as an independent um, part of the universe. I'm not sure where where I end and the rest of the world begins, because I'm just material. I have skin that's permeable. Gases are passing through me. All kinds of micro particles from the universe are passing through everything, and I'm not really sure anymore. And I don't mean like delusionally, like I'm not walking around saying I can walk through a wall or something. But
Right.
I no longer feel like I know what separates me from that box over there. I think it's all contiguous matter.
Okay.
Um, just I'm I'm I behave in a certain way, and I have a composition in my mind that tells me I stop at my skin, or I'm a living thing and that's not a living thing. All these constructs, I'm not sure of them anymore. You know,
Mhm.
I think they might be uh, useful, to like cross the road, and stuff like that, but I'm not sure that they're accurate. Even
Right.
the.
Yeah. Well, we can't know uh, that. I'll get to that for just a second. But what I wanted to finish about the soul, although these all these changes take place, at any given time, you had an identity. You had an identity at 5 years old. Your teachers called you by name. You were this person, had these characteristic traits, um, and then that changed and changed and changed and changed and changed to who you are today. I would suggest it is the soul that makes these connections, in that our identity is who we are at any given time. Our soul is the identity of who we are becoming.
I mean, that's possibly something I used to think. Well, no, I don't, yeah, see, that's the thing. I don't know if there is, um, I mean, that's an interesting idea, but I think I mean, ultimately, I think one day I just won't exist, in any way. Like, I might be a bunch of, like, yeah, I won't have an identity, I think, when I die. My
Mhm.
brain will stop producing the concept of me having an identity. Uh,
Right.
so I think what I'll ultimately become is that thing just before I died, I
Mhm.
guess. Um, because yeah, it's hard for me to imagine having some kind of sensory perception or some thinking or anything like that once my body stops working.
Right. Yeah, that's when the body's dead, then we can't see any further. But another thing you touched on there was the um, definition of knowledge or information. Inform-
Oh
Information,
yeah.
um, defined in computer science, is um, the reduction of uncertainty.
No, that's
We
convenient.
gather the
Yeah.
reduction of uncertainty. We gather information and it reduces our uncertainty of something, but it mathematically it can never be uh, 0 or 1.
Yeah.
We never know anything for certain.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't, you know, you
Yeah.
can't know that this picture is you. Maybe you were a Soviet sleeper and you haven't been
Yeah.
programmed turned on yet. Made out in the military, that would be dangerous. Are you?
Yes or no, I don't know. Oh no, she caught me off guard.
If I say the key word, pink,
Applesauce.
yeah, applesauce. Oh, no. But those kind of things can happen. And the brain is so depth. It has so much depth. Our memories become, uh, I want to say conglomerates, but that's not the word. Not contusion. What's the word for it? Not contusion?
uh, but it's definitely a C word.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it because I'll make you forget it.
Also, it means like false memories or memories that we fill in the gaps. We don't
Oh,
remember everything.
yeah.
We fill in the gaps with things, um, even like flashbulb memories,
Oh,
where
yeah.
we we remember something very vividly. We do remember it vividly, but that doesn't mean we're remembering it absolutely correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we see a little bit here, we see a little bit there. The brain likes to fill in gaps. It doesn't like to have gaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we look into the clouds, if I say, "Oh, do you see the whatever?" And if you look for it, you can see it.
You can see it. Yeah.
You know, if I
Yeah.
say, "Oh, do you see the teepee?" Oh, there. Yeah, yeah, right there. Or you see this and this and that. Where there's nothing there, we can
Yeah.
fill in the gaps.
I,
Uh,
I have a flash bulb, uh, and it's just so funny because I know what the science is saying about those. And I was 3. That's supposedly I was 3 because that's when my brother was born. And the flashbulb memory is of me sitting on a couch. We have some kind of babysitter standing next to us. The couch is like a love seat facing the front door of the house in Indianapolis, where I was first raised originally, and until age 9. And my brother is sitting on the arm of it, and I think my other brother is sitting next to me on the couch. And my father and mother are coming. No, no, it wasn't both brothers. It was one brother. Duh, because the memory is of my parents bringing home my baby brother. Uh, so I'm middle. He would have been the third brother, and I've had the memory of that memory. I've had the memory of having that memory all these years, and yet I have to admit that I don't know for sure if it's accurate.
mhm.
It may not have been the first day he showed up. It may not have been a couch. It may not have been, you know, a screen
Right,
door. You know,
right. We have to. Um, it's really in there, but our perception is also so selective. Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
see everything, but whenever, if we were doing like in hypnosis, um, if someone brought you back to that situation, hypnosis may bring up other details that you did not remember, but even then, we don't know if they're actually true or are
yeah.
you associating with another event. You can't know. It is all a mishmash down there.
And it
But
can be kind of scary.
the brain sorts it out pretty good for as bad as the mishmash is.
What I speaking of all this, now I realize what you're talking about. You know, as far as what's delusion and what's faith, and that sort of thing. Because, like you said, the definition of information is the decrease of uncertainty, right? Like,
Yeah,
and there's only so much that can be done. And then, and then the rest, like you mentioned, that those snapshots are considered pretty darn unreliable, though they seem so vivid and that sort of thing.
right.
Um,
But that's all we have to go on. And these. That's why I'm convinced that there is a soul there because it's the only thing that connects my past me to my present me to my future me. The It's not in the material, okay? So copies of copies, the neurons, the atoms that make up the neuron, uh, are being replaced, and the information is staying. You know that brings up an entirely different question,
in
a
fact,
philosophical.
what I think about now that you're saying it, and you said neurons, and I had a picture of neurons in my head, was this concept of copying. If I've thought of it, some research out there has already thought of it too, and I haven't even looked for it yet. I haven't looked
Oh,
for it on yeah, on the in the literature.
I when I researched the book on the human soul, I was really surprised to find as much scientific research on the soul that I did. It's so much, you know, out there. Do you know how many studies there are on zombies? It's amazing.
No.
Zombies are like really a
Oh, oh,
in
because of the actual phenomenon from like,
no from from what zombies in the sense of what we're talking about is the past me no longer me, then the
oh,
past me is
oh,
a
yes.
zombie.
I've heard
Okay,
that construct before, yeah,
you
on
know these
some YouTube video.
thought experiment ideas, um, take take the mind of Aaron, copy it into Brian,
Mhm.
so that Brian thinks he absolutely is Aaron. Um,
Right,
is he?
right.
Because if it's the same mind, does it matter what difference does the body make?
There's a book that I hope I still have, because what you're saying is similar to the teleportation analogy, where um, let's say teleportation was, it was a book called The Mind's Eye with, capital letter I,
Uh-huh.
identity. And it was, let's say that they developed teleportation, but how it does is it copies you, and a machine up on Mars manufactures a new you. Now, for that to be truly called teleportation, they're going to have to destroy the first you, because otherwise, that became one of their wrinkles in it. But the
Yeah.
point is, um, I guess the question of that thought experiment was, would you be up there then? If it is a copy of you, would you be up there then? I guess it's similar to what you're talking about.
Right. And the soul is what makes all these copies of us, unites them into one lifeline of a being, where our identity of who we are, we can only say at each point on that lifeline, even, who you are right now talking to me is different than who you are with your family, which is different than who you are when you're in the military, which is different than who you are when you're with your boys. We have all these different personalities and versions of ourselves, but the thing that holds it together, and it has to be something that holds it together, otherwise it would fly apart. So that, whatever you want to call it, is what I would call a soul.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, yeah, then yeah. I mean, by definition, I guess I would think it's some consistency in the neurology, but
In the one of the books I read, or it was actually a peer-reviewed article. This guy went so out of the way to not use the word soul, because souls don't exist, because they're related to an association with God. We have um, personality continuums. That's how we
oh yeah,
call
yeah, yeah. I'm quite like I was when I was a kid.
it. Mhm.
Um, and if I could make a living at it, I'd be I'd be like I was when I was a kid. Because you know what I mean. But what I'm saying is that yeah, I definitely sense the idea that like I always wanted to be an actor. I still want to be an actor. I got a BA in acting. Uh, I fantasize about you know somebody seeing a YouTube video of mine and saying we're going to put you in a movie and pay you $1 million just to be in it. That kind of stuff. So yeah, there's definite continuity, and I guess you're not. Well, okay. So what this brings up for me real quick, and I guess we should call it quits at some point, but you mentioned that information thing, where information is not really what people think of when they talk about information, but it's scientifically defined as a decrease in uncertainty. I don't know if
Right.
yeah. So to me, that kind of fits in the sense that I, I don't think I would ever say for sure that God exists or God doesn't exist, or that the soul um, doesn't exist, even if you weren't so generous about how to define it. I think that I can't be certain of what I tend to think I know.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
That's what where the big twist is. What then of knowledge?
I know.
Is merely the reduction of uncertainty, then what we know is only what we believe to know.
Yeah, yeah,
At
yeah.
some point, we gather enough information that the uncertainty is so low that we eventually say, "This is not something I believe, but something I know."
I'm going to call it
But,
something.
but really, there is no line. At some point, I mean, how much certainty do I need to have that
Right,
I am my father's son?
right.
Not very much. I mean, you could easily, according to my current situation, geographically, emotionally, what about my father is still in me?
Hmm.
Not
Yeah.
much, you know.
But that's interesting. Oh, and also, I think that we would go bonkers if we really tried too hard to like decimate all beliefs or decimate our strongest impressions, or I think we would just go bonkers. I don't think we can
Oh
live.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's I have this, and that's what what makes psychotherapy so difficult and pretty so stressful for me. Do you get this also? People come to me for an intake interview, and in the first 10 minutes, they tell me exactly what the problem is, what they need to do to fix it. That's the first 10 minutes, and spend the rest of the time explaining why they can't do that.
yes, yes.
And we talk about it for years until they come to the point, you know what? I think, Dr. Kolb, I just have to do that thing you told me in the first 10 minutes of when we first
Yes, yes.
I think so too. I mean, it's
There's yes, absolutely. I didn't even want to, because I could start a whole new hour. At some point, I want us to.
yeah,
You're willing to do another video? I would love to.
idea. Yeah,
Um,
we can let's do that. If you want to start it, I'm not see, I write books, but I'm not interested in selling them. I don't want to do what I was an actor already. I already did a movie. Wasn't that great?
what was it
It's a
called?
Stuck flame. You can stuck.
Oh, it's a German movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do I type this? How do I spell it?
In YouTube, stuck STOCKFLAME. Stuck flame.
SP or T? P as in Peter or T as in talkie?
T
S
is in Thomas. Stock.
T as in Thomas. Okay. Stock.
Stock is in stock market. Stock flame.
Okay. And then what's the end again?
Flame. F
Oh,
L A.
oh,
One word.
you know what I'm doing? I'm listening for German, and you're not speaking German.
No, it is.
Oh. Yeah, I got it here.
Oh,
Stock flame theme, stock flame Doc Woods attacks, stock flame trailer.
yeah.
Oh, that's so anyway, but you like you were saying, you
Yeah,
got
I was an actor when I stopped clowning. Then I got into improv acting, and even had my own theater here in Germany.
oh wow. Wow.
And so, yeah, I wanted, that was always a dream of mine. And then I achieved that. And then I thought, okay, what now? My
Yeah.
dream,
Yeah.
but this is too much work. What?
Yeah, I like my profession enough and I'm old enough that I don't need to be looking for some new
Mhm.
thing. But
But acting is also, it's very useful
yeah,
in, in psychology,
yeah,
particularly with children and clowning.
yeah.
I've used more of my performing arts skills than anything I learned out of a book.
That's interesting because I don't, but my wife does. She does. She has. So, what does she call it? Dealing with feelings, I think. And she uses monster puppets to talk about the books she wrote. Well, no, she wrote a book. She writes illustrated books for early readers, and then she started to make puppets, and now she's making videos out of those puppets
Yeah,
um, to convey to children um, that it's okay to talk about emotions, identify emotions. That, like you said, anger has a purpose. You know,
right.
so she's using. So she's the one that's using her theater skills. I'm not doing. Well, no, I am in session. I am. I'm a different person in session.
Yeah,
You know what?
I'm sure you think about how you're standing, or just
Yeah,
being,
absolutely.
being aware that you're
Yeah,
what you're projecting, you know, and trying to maintain an awareness of that.
I
Uh,
definitely believe the whole Shakespeare quote and the Rush
all
version of it. You know,
the world's a
all
stage.
of the stage. People have, my solution for myself for imposter syndrome is, yeah, I am playing a role here. And the role I have to play here, like you alluded to earlier, you're going to be different when you're taking care of your kids than
Mhm.
when you're teaching a class, than when you are hanging out with some buddies, you know. Um,
Right,
different aspects of us come out, I think.
right. Yes, we play these roles.
Yeah, we do. And I,
So, and you want to make a YouTube page and talk about psychology and philosophy and
right. So, yeah, what actually happened in reality was I already have a, a YouTube mental health page. And then I've got a YouTube let's argue about shit page, controversy, politics, religion, philosophy, um, you know, hoping to be a part of a bigger conversation. But really, originally, I mean, in the first place, um, hope it, yeah, no, really, the ultimate is to hope to have better conversations, and have
yeah,
conversations, you
yeah,
know.
that's what I like too. Learning from, that's why I don't read I've already read everything that, well, not everything. Everyone's writing a book these days.
Yeah.
You know, I've read C.S. Lewis and all the big Christians. I've read the Bible many times over. I mean, even the unpopular parts.
Mm.
Uh, Dealt with the history of Christianity. Great book. Uh, Next time maybe we can do that. That would be a good uh, video session. We could play a game. Uh, I have a stack of books. You
You'll
have
win.
books. You bring up I address a topic and show a book, and you have to then show a book that you have on that topic. And if you don't, then that's a point from, and then back and forth.
Oh, you'll probably win because I don't know. That's true. We have shelves of books that we haven't looked at in years in our house that we're thinking about donating. Uh,
Oh, don't do that. Go through them. There might be gems in there.
yeah,
'Cause
you're right.
fine. I read in one psychology book, I don't even remember the name of the book or the psychologist, and I remember reading it thinking, I'm only reading this because I started it and because I'm such a stubborn person that I have to finish building the wall. Uh, if I start something, I don't get obsessive. It's not like I can't sleep, but I go back to those projects and do them again
Wow.
and finish them.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
um, I'm kind of so I was reading this book, and then there was a line in there that said um, about talking about some other psychologists had the ability to find useful information in the most unlikely of places.
Hmm.
And I thought, wow, look at that. I'm sitting here reading this book, thinking the whole time it's useless and boring. Why am I reading it? And now I know.
That's interesting. That
Uh,
is, yeah,
and since
absolutely.
then, that's why I'll, you
Uh,
know,
maybe
read.
I will have some, but I don't know my library. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know my in-home library.
Well, anyway, I've read. Um, I also read from the atheists a lot, and I've learned more about God from them recently than I have from other Christians because they don't challenge me. They
Yeah, yeah,
they think just like I do.
yeah.
But you know, when I read about Richard Dawkins' explanation of the evolution of the eye, I can, I say, okay, why does this sound? I think about it, and I think, wait, here are these little steps. You know, they talk about evolution in the whole, then max it into little development from A to B, from B to C, little developments, and then try to get a big evolution out of it at the end.
That's
And reading all kinds, I have a book on the anthropic cosmological principle or cosmological anthropic principle.
that the one where the universe is made for humans or something like that, or no?
Yeah, well, what they've done is calculated how far the Earth, for life to be as it is, what had to
Yes,
happen,
yeah. It's
how much.
a perfect environment for humans to develop.
So someone calculated the margin of error for life, and inclusive everything. That the Earth is the size it is, in distance to the sun, distance to the moon, orbit around, atmosphere, this, and that. Everything that had to be the way it is to have life as it is. What were the chances? And calculated them all mathematically. I can't remember the number exactly. It's in my second book on the human mind, but it's something like one 0.00097 zeros and then a few numbers.
Yeah, I
So
remember that one.
very, 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 very small chances that all of this could have come to be by chance.
My thought is that the only evidence we have is the fact that we exist. So that if we use that, we would have to say it was 100% chance.
Right.
Um, but I'm not saying that to disagree. I'm just saying that
Oh,
um,
it's also, I've read all the arguments against it and for it. Another one that sounds like a good argument at first is um, if this lady from wherever I heard it, um, and this was in a YouTube interview or something, she said, if I bend over and pick up a grain of sand and then say, what are the chances that I picked up this grain of sand? It would be approximately the same chances,
Oh,
but there's nothing, you know.
yeah,
I said, there's nothing special about this grain of sand.
yeah, yeah.
You know, uh, throw this throw this sand over your shoulder and pick it up again. Then I'll be impressed. You know,
Yeah.
then it's something special. Another argument that's the cosmological principle brought up the multiverse idea,
Mm,
and other people said, okay, so the chances are very, very, very small. But if we have infinite number of universes, then the chance
some of
that,
them would.
that one of them would have life is then again relatively large.
Yeah, yeah.
So instead of uh, assuming that an unknown God created this one universe, we have then you can either believe that or believe
It's
there's an unknown number of universes.
that's why I like.
Much proof for either side.
Yeah. What I like is the idea that for me, I imagine people talking about this stuff over coffee, over beers, or something like
Right.
that. Facebook debate pages were like the closest thing I could get to because people are busy and you can't always start a debate club and have it last, or an art or a discussion club. You know, when guys go out for beer, maybe they don't want to talk about it. Maybe they want to talk about football. You know, and it's like I've forever been just trying to find a way. So like I'm not trying to gloss over what you just said either. I'm saying that this is like I wonder if I really did have someone to talk to on a regular basis, or groups of people, like a group of people, would it ever end? Would it ever be over? You know, but before I died, would one day everybody say, "Oh, I guess we figured it out"? You know?
Well, that's kind of my personal belief is that will be the end. I
Oh,
think I think the countdown that's ticking to end of the world, Jesus returned, Armageddon, whatever you want to call it, is the point where science eventually manages to get a look behind the curtain and see, talk to the Wizard of Oz,
and yeah,
and, and then we'll have that conversation about the, just like in the movie, about the heart, mind, and soul. Um,
you
I
mentioned that
think,
in your book, on one of your books,
yeah, yeah,
The Wizard of Oz.
yeah. I think I did. I said something about that. Looking behind the curtain um, is when science figures it out, and we're getting closer and closer. Um, I don't think. I think a lot of scientists think they're going away from God. I don't think so. I think they're going to run right into him because what science is the study of God's creation. You can study a Picasso painting and not know Picasso. You know, he's no longer here. So a lot of Christians don't like my books because there's too much science in it. You know,
Oh,
that's dangerous stuff. That's science. You know.
that's interesting because there are definitely a lot of faithful scientists out there. Is this,
Yeah.
you know,
I
but
mean,
I get it. I get it.
there's
It's
more.
historically we tend to think that science has crowded out God, but I think a faithful person would probably be able to say not necessarily.
Well, what the Christian, the believers and the non-believers don't understand about science is Science must assume a closed system. Okay, you can't. If I'm making medicines, okay, I want the medicine to work on Christians, Muslims, regardless. I want it to work on humans. Okay, and it doesn't. I want it to work whether they're praying about their healing or not. So I don't put that as a factor in my work. When I design a car, a braking system of a car, I want the car to stop, regardless of whether Christian music is playing in the radio at
Right,
the time of the
right,
collision.
right.
Okay. When I'm making a battery, I want a battery that gives energy off for long as possible time, regardless regardless if it's in the microphone of someone sharing the gospel or someone singing Hell's Bells. Okay, science has to assume a closed system, otherwise experiments would be meaningless. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
if you know, so did the
yeah.
medicine not work, or was it just his time? Did God just call him? Did the medicine work, or was it God's intervention? We,
In fact,
that
there,
would be, we could have no science. We have to assume a closed system in order to do experiments. And if we're not doing experiments, then we're not doing
and what are
science.
we doing? Yeah. That
Yeah.
reminds me that there are scientists who have arguments about this, that they are considering some scientists non-scientists because they're getting very fringy and stuff out in the fringes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's because, like you're saying, they're getting outside of the closed system. They may not be able to experiment. They might be able to do mathematical proofs, but that's very iffy for most scientists, I think. Um, what happened? I didn't. Oh, there you are. Okay.
I got up to turn on the light. I could have turned on the light the whole time.
Oh, and and
And
this
then,
and this is a perfect time to to end the thing.
yeah. I
But
look,
just so, but what we learned today is that you do have a light in there, in your home there. No, but so anyway, yeah, I would love it if we talked about either. There are quite a few things: the limits of knowledge,
okay.
or like you said, we already talked about it, but I really do want to talk about this habit people have of calling each other delusion. Um, I'm
Uh,
not a huge fan of that, you know. Um,
the God delusion
right,
is
right, right. I,
is I think what maybe started that.
I, well, yeah, and I saw,
It's a good book. I read it. I
it's
haven't.
not, I haven't even read it, and I need to read it, but um, I saw him once on a YouTube video where he was presenting to a crowd, and a person said, "What if I had this amazing feeling and I just felt full of love and energy?" And maybe they mentioned something sensorial, but I'm not sure they did. But what if I just, and to me, that was God speaking to me. He didn't even have like the discipline to say, um, you know, delusion, which, I'm not even sure if it's fair to call that a delusion. He said, I believe you are hallucinating. He didn't even say, I believe you were hallucinating. He was just way off his game, I think, or something. But he said, I believe you're hallucinating. For me, that is hurtful, harmful.
Uh,
And I believe that
yeah.
uh, that I hope if you go over everything I said on Facebook, I hope you never see that I called anybody delusional, because I don't think I would ever do that. You know.
Yeah. It's the delusion is something. I think maybe we didn't talk about this so much as we planned because you told me what you wanted to talk about, and I wrote a sentence, and we were in agreement. So it was
Yeah,
not bad.
right, right.
But faith is based on a person's core beliefs that they build up over their lives, and everything that we understand in our mind goes through our perception, which means it's subjective. But delusions are a malfunction of these
Yeah,
perceptions.
yeah,
When people hear, see, feel, you can have delusions in all of your senses. Okay, we have vestibular delusions when you're sitting in your car and uh, the car next to you goes forward. You have the feeling
yeah,
going
yeah,
backwards.
yeah,
It's a delusion.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know,
That that's why that's right. That's a good point. So at one in one sense, I don't like the pejorative nature of the way it's used because we still have a tradition of thinking of some people as crazy and some people as sane. But when you talk about delusion as being a thing that happens to anybody and everybody, there are different degrees and there's different levels of impairment. That I can talk about, you know. Um, and that's what bothers me when someone, because I'm not hearing them say, we all experience delusions in a way. They're saying, you believe in, usually it's, I hate to say it, but I'm pretty sure it's usually the agnostics and atheists
uh-huh.
that are calling someone delusional.
Yeah, there's also, this is worth getting, I'll just introduce this because there's a whole lot of studies on this. I kind of mentioned a little bit. We are born with an intuitive mode of thinking, and the rational mode of thinking evolves later. And there are a series of studies out there, and I go over these in my books. They have the premise is the research question would be, are religious people stupid? Okay, that's what they're trying to. You can see in the study they already have an agenda. It's not about
Yeah,
science.
yeah, 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 right, right.
But okay, let's take a look at the experiment. I have no problem with the experiment and the data. Very interesting. Um, they take two groups, believers and non-believers. Okay, and they've repeated this experiment many times. Christians, non-Christians, religious people, non-religious people, um, spiritual people, tarot, um, whatever, believers, non-believers, and then they pose them, give them a series of questions to determine if they're rational or intuitive thinkers. And across the board, the believers tend towards the intuitive thinkers, and the non-believers the rational
Huh,
thinkers.
huh.
And then they try to say, see, believing in God is not rational. Okay, and they try to put down Christians with that.
That's
And
the
what really gets me about that is they leave out the very known fact that is our intuitive thought. It's our intuitive capabilities that make us so intelligent. If we were just rational, just did the rational decision each time, we would not be anywhere as
it would, yeah,
all the good ideas have come
yeah.
out of something irrational.
It would have taken days to do something that we can do in hours, in a way. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All the huge discoveries were, you know, accidents that I got some bark here in my uh,
Yeah, I've heard. I
I'll have to throw this one away and penicillin would not be discovered
I don't know if
because
it's true, but the old story of what's his name in the bathtub, and he suddenly realized the formula for volume, you know, or something
some
like that.
these
Yeah,
things like that.
Yeah.
It's an intuitive thought that makes humans so much more intelligent than other. So to say the intuitive thinkers are stupid is
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
And
not doing
yeah.
science.
To me, reasoning is similar to like plus and minus, where intuition is like maybe calculus or something.
Mhm.
But then again, I don't know anything about calculus because I,
It's to it's to understand that when against all rational thought, you still got a feeling that this is the better decision. You
Mhm.
have no
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
reason to think
yeah,
that, but
yeah,
when you got that feeling and you go with it, it's usually right.
yeah. I've
You know,
I've I've helped a couple of people decide something they were wanting to decide for a long time, and it was, am I being abused? And I'll say, well, let's say this is zero. You're somewhere in the middle of good treatment and bad treatment. Over here is 100% you're being abused, and over here is zero. You're not being abused. Um, and I'll just say, where do you think that needle tips? And it's not a real quantifiable thing at all. But they'll say, well, it tips toward the abuse
right.
side, or whatever, or intolerable treatment, whatever they want to call it.
Uh-huh.
And that's not the end point of it, but they now know what they're feeling. They now know what they already knew.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
It's just a way of getting them to use their intuition.
Yeah. And the other reason I don't mind, all of the interpretation of that of these studies was horrible. They had not even a hidden agenda. But what they didn't realize is you guys are making my case for me, uh, because we come into the world. That's the way God created us, and that's the way it's described in the Bible. We come into the world first with an intuitive mode of thinking. Uh, as children, we
Yeah,
believe we want to believe different things. We take it all in, and then later we rationalize a lot of it out.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but what does Jesus say? In order to get to the heavens, you have to become like these children. Lean not on your own understanding, but on faith. A lot of in the Bible says, follow your intuition, follow your beliefs. We were created just as we were created to avoid, with a little bit of fear, to avoid being rather safe than sorry. We're also created with the intuition to want to believe something, to search, looking for what's out there. Who are we? What is the soul?
Yeah.
What is
That I definitely agree with. I
yeah?
think it's from the beginning. And also, I think intuition, without it as a baby, you may not be able to get your diaper changed. You may not be able to get
Oh
fed.
yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, it's amazing that people would consider that give that short shrift, but it's
Yeah.
not amazing because I
But
know how.
The Christians are also, I scold when I see something like that. If they're an atheist, I just leave it. But if they're a Christian, oh, I may come down on them.
Oh, really? Why?
Uh, there's so many people out there who want to be the right of the world instead of the light of the
Oh,
world.
yeah. And if you really
Uh,
want, yeah,
you know, and they say, we're not, a lot of people are on a mission from God to save people, save, yeah, okay, God said to share the gospel, but it's not our responsibility. I don't have to convince anyone. I don't even care to convince anyone. I sometimes I frighten myself. It's not like I'm incompassionate, but yeah, do what you want. You're going to anyway. We can talk about it, but you know, people belief is a choice. People choose to believe what they want to, and then they find evidence support that belief, and that's not gonna change with me. I'm not going to be able to say anything to make that change in anyone. But God can do something in people.
Yeah.
And
I feel like, well, like I said, mine's a little different. It's just I want the conversations uh to be right at this point. To me, I don't know if I'll ever be able to believe again. But I do not like to put myself in a club of people who won't challenge me, you know, basically.
right. Yeah,
Or
that's
you know, just
uh,
like I one day had trouble believing that I had to have that I have a soul, one day I might have trouble believing it'll be impossible for me to not believe I have a soul. That could
yeah.
happen in 3 months or yeah. Well, at some point I got to let you go because
Yeah, it's
I have
getting
not used a very good time discipline, but I figure it was a great introduction.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's going to be much material there you can use. Maybe this will help you structure later discussions. You know, for me, I mean, it'd be nice if, I mean, we're talking about my books for every once in a while if you put a plug in there, but I don't even sell them.
Absolutely.
They're
Um,
all available for free download on uh,
Seriously,
academia. Yeah, I don't. I mean, you can buy them also. They are for sale, but I to because I'd have to make a YouTube channel. I'd have to
you'd have to push them
and
and sell them, and I mean, yeah,
I'd have to take care of this and looking for and
you'd have a job, a big old job.
yeah, it's a different job, and that's not. I told God I'll write these books, but damn it, you're selling them because
That's yeah. My thought is, if I were going to make any money at this, I'd have to quit my job I have now. You know,
yeah,
and all that.
and to go into performing arts, that's exactly what you have to do.
Yeah,
You have to stop what you're doing, work full time
right.
in as if it were your job now,
On
whether
gamble,
whether or not you get money for it and your motivation to do it is because you're an artist and it needs to come out.
right.
I had that before as an actor and a street performer. I had, oh, I don't need to be on stage anymore. I don't need to anymore.
Well, just to make it formal, I'm going to tell everybody out there who, if anybody watches it, this has been this. I'm going to put it on the Skeptical Spectrum channel. I think that's one of my channels. It's called.
Yeah, yeah.
And this has been Eric Kolb, PhD, and I'm Jim Porter. But I should be calling myself Skeptical Spectrum. I'm trying to separate this from my mental health page. But anyway, take care of yourself, and I will communicate with you soon, or you can just send me another bubble on Messenger.
Okay,
All right, man.
we'll do that.
Take care.